Welcome to the Sunday edition of The Sleeper and the Bust. I'm Justin Mason without Jason Collette, who had a draft today, and I didn't realize it. And so I had to make a trade last minute. I went, oh man, season's about to start. I need to bring someone in. Who is my Sean Manaea? And it's Matt Williams from The Athletic. Matt, how you doing, my friend?
If I'm Sean Manaea, then I don't know what you're calling Jason Collette, because the return for Sean Manaea was dreadful.
Yes, yeah. Let's say that the Athletic got a better deal than than the A's got for Sean Manaea. We will talk about that deal and I guess why no other team seemed to want to pony up anything of note for Sean Manaea, because that's, like you said, that seems like just a weird return on a guy that they waited a long time. But before we do that, remind everybody where you can reach on social media and then plug what you do.
Yeah, everyone, you can chase me down on social media, always on Twitter, MATTWI77IMS. DMs are always open. Love talking baseball. I do my Twitter threads on there. Always puts tons of nonsense and pieces of information. You can also find me on The Athletic. I do a lot of more in-depth player breakdowns because I'm not limited to a certain amount of characters over there. And I'll be doing some stuff over there kind of all season long. So yeah, that's where you can find most of my stuff. And I also host the Turn 2 podcast, Twitter at Turn 2 Podcast. Make sure to sub. I have all sorts of awesome guests, and kind of that's where my platform to talk about whatever the heck I want to.
Absolutely. Definitely check out the Turn 2 podcast. I've had some good guests on recently. I've been really enjoying them. So keep that going. Been enjoying that. Let's talk some news first, and then we're going to talk about the first FAAB run of the year. A lot of leagues are going to go on later tonight. So those of you who are listening on Sunday when we're recording this, we'll try to prepare you the best we can. Had to make some last minute changes because I don't think Mackenzie Gore's making that rotation in San Diego anymore.
12-man rotation. They can do it.
I mean, they could. Maybe this means another trade is coming. There was talk that that the Padres and the Mets were trying to line up on what seemed like a weird mega deal. But let's before we do that, let's talk. Yeah,
the Mets Saturday. They look into trading Dominic Smith, fan favorite Dominic Smith, who probably would be the best option for DH, for Eric Hosmer's partial contract and Chris Paddock. And they wanted to take all that on, and then the next day, Sean Manaea gets traded for nothing to the Padres. What? I mean, what? What is this?
Let's talk about the Sean Manaea deal first, because I mean that's the big thing. That's what's kind of broken this morning. Sean Manaea traded to the Padres for not much. Two kind of mid-tier prospects. I saw one of them's like the number 26 prospect in the Padres organization. This is weird on many counts. One, it totally jams up that Padres rotation. There was a lot of kind of heat that Mackenzie Gore could make it into the Padres rotation. That seems unlikely now because we're looking at probably a 6-man if Paddock's going to stay in the rotation. Paddock was a guy that was part of that potential Mets deal, like you mentioned. Do you think this means another deal's coming? A piece of news is coming, maybe, that somebody's injured, somebody's suspended? What do you make of this, and how much are you busting up Sean Manaea?
All right, so I guess there's a lot of things to talk about here.
Yeah.
I said that we've been making fun of the return. I do like. I'm going to brutalize the name. I apologize ahead of time. I mean, it's minor leaguers, so you don't get them a whole lot. But Uriel Angeles, I've seen some of him, and I do like him. But again, for this, it just seemed like a light trade. I know it's only 1 year. Maybe the A's are really high on him. They've done well in the rest of their trades this offseason, despite the really sad breakdown they're doing. Manaea, really like him. He's had injury troubles, but he's been healthy. He was healthy last year. His velocity's up. He's kind of a little more removed from his shoulder problems. He was a big target of mine coming into this year. So this is a slight bump up. It's hard to know right now. I would assume another trade is coming. But if it doesn't and they do a 6-man rotation, that's certainly not a net positive overall, but things tend to work themselves out. So maybe in the end, this is lateral somewhat, but I do like Manaea. In terms of what I think will happen, one will probably be a trade. They need an outfielder. Everyone knows it. They were desperate enough to trade for almost Dominic Smith to actually play him in the outfield. He doesn't belong. He's like, he shouldn't be out there. He's like Kyle Schwarber. But I would assume that's what they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, you have Mike Clevenger returning. Maybe he needs more time. Blake Snell, you never know with his elbow. Again, this is not me trying to wish anything. And Joe Musgrove wore down a little bit at the end of last year because of innings. You never know. Didn't they make they traded for, who did they trade for? They traded for somebody like the day before they announced Clevenger was like injured, right?
Was that the Darvish deal?
Might have been. They did something similar. They acquired someone big, and they announced Clevenger was on the shelf like immediately. So yeah, that's something. But yeah, overall, I would think that you're probably going to see some kind of news or probably a trade coming up here. So if this is a 5-man rotation, Manaea up. I liked him anyway. So continue to target him if you're still drafting. But yeah, there's Preller, man. He's he never really fills the obvious hole. Adam Frazier. I mean, he's like, bring over Ha-Seong Kim just to sit him. But they continue to bring in talent, and this was definitely a good trade for the Padres.
Yeah, I do wonder if maybe this is like the precursor to a Brian Reynolds deal, maybe, right? I mean, they've been a team that's connected to Brian Reynolds. We know that the Pirates want a lot for him, so maybe a Chris Paddock plus, Luis Campusano. Someone,
maybe they're intrigued by Mackenzie Gore's spring because the Pirates, they probably won't want Paddock, right? They'll want some young, controllable, like real, like probably in the minors guys. So I'll be interested to see what they want because I mean, God, they're talking to the Marlins. I mean, like Max Meyer was like names like that popped up, so they're shooting for the stars, right?
As they should, yeah. They I mean, you've got a guy who's cost controlled for the next few years and is already a star and would be an even better star leaving a park like PNC to go pretty much anywhere else. So, I'm excited by Manaea moving out of Oakland because, I mean, as well as Oakland plays for pitchers, there weren't going to be a lot of wins to be had.
A lot of runs to be scored.
Yeah. So it was, the park obviously is a little bit of a downgrade going to San Diego. But I think it's a nice, addition for his win potential being in a place like San Diego where the park's not bad. Your offense behind you is going to be much better. That bullpen, in spite of the fact that they haven't named a closer, is still pretty decent. So, I like the Manaea move. I definitely got to move him up in my ranks. I had him a little bit lower. I haven't gotten him anywhere, I don't think, this year. So maybe my last draft of the season, which is Wednesday. And for those of you who are interested, I will be live streaming that main event 10 p.m. Eastern. So for those of you on the East Coast, it's late. But I think Shelly V and Scott Chu are going to join me just to do commentary, at least until they pass out, because I don't know that they're going to stay up that late with me. But so definitely check that out. You can catch that on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all the places that you could potentially be watching this stream right now. We are live. Usually we only do the live stream portion in the Patreon, but I thought today, kind of being our opening day preview-ish, and Paul and I will record on Tuesday for actually opening day preview. Thought we'd just stream it out to everybody. There will be a link in the show notes for where you can get to that Patreon. We're going to be doing some cool stuff this year for our Patreon guests or people. I don't know what you call them. Patrons. That seemed way too easy. I should have gotten there. We're going to do an opening day watch party. We're going to watch the Mets Nationals game at 1 p.m. or I think it's 1 p.m. my time, so probably 4 p.m. Pacific. Which is a
Patrick Corbin versus bullpen game.
Yeah, it seemed a lot sexier when we made that decision when it was supposed to be Jacob deGrom versus Patrick Corbin, and then with the deGrom news, it was supposed to be Max Scherzer versus Patrick Corbin. Now it is bullpen game versus Max Scherzer. Not as much fun.
Hopefully you get Chris Bassett instead of the bullpen game.
Yeah, there's 3 other games going on, so we'll be switching probably to different games during the course of that one. But I love Patrick Corbin. I'm in on the Patrick Corbin rebound. A guy who doesn't need a rebound, just needed a chance, is Bobby Witt, who has made the Royals opening day lineup. People are super excited. We saw him going in the 4th round of a lot of main events. I'll be interested to see, now that the news is official, where he goes in drafts rest of the way. What are your thoughts on Bobby Witt? Like, if you had a draft remaining, how high would you take him? And then how good of a season do you think he's going to have?
All right, I actually did a recent breakdown on him on The Athletic. If anyone wants more extensive thoughts, go there. I wrote a
Mhm.
ton, but long story short, I love Bobby Witt Jr., but he is a rookie. Most rookies fail by standards of fantasy managers. In real baseball, the bar is a lot lower. If you can be an everyday player, it's gold. Jared Kalenic, Brees, very recent example. Beast. He was a no doubt beast. Guess what? Failed miserably. So looked terrible still. I don't expect that from Bobby Witt. I mean, man, he's a special player. His dad, was drafted 1986 third overall pick. Witt, gets drafted second overall pick. He grew up in baseball. He knows what to expect. He grew into this. He's like got a crazy work ethic. Shows up, works hard, doesn't say anything bad. Power and speed, just everything you kind of want to see. But he's not Wander Franco. He's not what Carlos Correa was, which was a big comp for him coming up. He didn't have that kind of plate discipline in the minors. He's more like Trevor Story was in terms of that kind of mid-20s strikeout rate, a little below 10% walk rate. And even though Story had a really successful rookie year, the strikeout rate rose to around like 30-ish%. That's kind of what I expect from Bobby Witt this year. He has a lot of, out of all the things he does well, incredible power, finds the barrel. He will struggle with swinging miss, I think, moving up to the majors like everyone. That next level breaking stuff, that velocity being controlled, the command, it's gonna take a while to adjust. So everyone's anyone hoping for like a 290 30-30 season, may want to cap that. I kind of comped them between maybe somewhere between like a Javier Baez and I'm trying
Guys,
to
Chisholm?
yeah, something like that. But I think maybe closer to like a 260, 270, maybe 20, maybe like 20 home runs, 18 stolen bases, which is still great.
Mhm.
So he probably should be going like 4th, 5th round. He's going to probably be drafted like 3rd round for the rest of the time here. But his ceiling is immense. I mean, there's no reason he can't adjust. If he does, he could be a monster immediately. But there is there is floor there, an incredible floor for rookies. When I say floor, I mean like a trap door. You never know what's going to happen against Jared Kalenic. But yeah, my expectations are pretty solid. Maybe like a Jorge Polanco was someone I was trying to think of later, like something typical like that. And that's where he's been being drafted recently in like online championships and mains before the news, where he was kind of being drafted in between those two. And I think I think that is more appropriate, around that area. But yeah, people are going to jump the gun. You're not going to get him that late. So I probably
Yeah.
have him on my team. If you're doing like an all or nothing or an overall, that makes some sense to try to swing for the fences. But if you're in a standalone league, you got to be realistic. It's his rookie year.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, I love the idea of Bobby Witt,
Yeah.
but he's also only eligible at short to start the season. He'll get third base eligibility, which is great, right? Because third base is one of the weaker positions. I can't pull the trigger on him as early as he has been going, much less as early as he will go. He went with the first pick of the 4th round in my main event in Vegas to my co-host Paul Sport. And now at the same time, he was not going to get another shot. If he wanted him, he had to take him, right? I can't do it that early. With this news, maybe I can bump him up into the 4th round. I've got the 12th pick in my main event. If he makes it to me in the 4th round, there's definitely going to be a conversation inside of my head, and probably on the live stream, because I'll be live.
Yeah, that's just it. It's really hard in the moment because he's so exciting. But I always try to tell people, like, think about it. I brought up Javier Baez. He's going to go later than Witt. Not a lot of people are really high on Baez because he moved to Detroit, even though pull power works in Comerica. It's gaps in center that are the problem. He's not going to probably be at his very best, but there's a track record there. If you put your money, anyone with a sound mind would have to pick Baez to outperform Witt. And then you go to someone last year. Let's just go with projections. If you got 257 out of Witt, 25 home runs and 9 stolen bases, that'd be an incredible, probably disappointment for anyone who drafts him. But if he ended up with anything a little above that, again, give him another handful of stolen bases, give him 10 more. So he's like 25 and 20. I mean, I just described Dansby Swanson. He goes so late. So you just got to see, like, what am I really getting here probably in the rookie year? And I'm really excited. I understand the ceiling. He could be an unbelievable player, but you just got to be real. Not that many people do, not that many people break out. Julio Rodriguez, if he made the Mariners, plate discipline travels from level to level. I would be much more excited about Julio Rodriguez this season than I would Witt. I think Witt will be a monster. He's built for fantasy baseball. He's going to be a stud. But as far as success out of the bat, out of the box, Julio Rodriguez seems like a better bet.
Yeah, I just don't think that the price reflects the potential risk. And like you mentioned, like Kelenic was the guy, like including me. Like I was all over Kelenic last year, had him on a lot of teams, and that one hurt. But I was only paying like a top 150 to 175 price. Like I wasn't paying a third round or fourth round pick. I want to get Bobby Witt on a team. I don't think it's going to happen. He's
the ultimate FOMO guy. If you're in multiple leagues, I'm
going to be kicking myself if he goes like 25-25 this year. Especially if it comes with like a 250, 260 batting average. Because
I will say it seems like I'm throwing cold water. I will end with this. There are certain players, and Witt is one of them, where even if they fail, short of being sent down like Kelenic, which I don't predict that for Witt. I think he'll be fine. He will probably deliver enough in the power and speed areas to not kill you. It's kind of like why I'm fine drafting Robbie Ray this year. If he regresses, I know I'm still getting those strikeouts. You're
still getting the strikeouts, yeah.
It does give you a floor of production where
it's not like a Kyle Hendricks.
Yeah, he's not going to ruin your draft. He's not ruining you. Yeah.
It's, you're at worst, you're still getting, probably a top 15 shortstop, which seems weird to say like that has value having played fantasy baseball for 20 years. Because we did used to have days in which, only the top 5 shortstops returned like positive value. Now we have like 30 that are worth drafting. But yeah, I think especially being in Kansas City with his speed, like he's gonna steal bases. Like even if the power isn't what we think out of the gate, because Kauffman is a bigger stadium, and he has trouble making contact. Like he's probably gonna steal 15 to 25 bases, even if he struggles. So like he's not gonna be a zero. I want like the guy I'm taking in the third round to be the guy like that is really carrying my team, and I feel comfortable is gonna carry my team to a championship, not like have like super huge bust potential.
Yep. And I will say this, I guess the last thing I'll say on him, because how excited I still am, even though I'm trying to be level-headed. If he bats second, it's like roster resources projecting. That's important. If he's batting at the bottom of the lineup like another rookie, big difference. If he's bats second, in my mind, in my heart, I'd be stunned if he doesn't outproduce like Carlos Correa, Corey Seager, those guys. I mean, again, I've
got him ranked over those guys already.
Yeah, I would be again that power and speed. He gives you something there.
Yeah. The question is like, do you take him over a Jazz Chisholm, a Dansby Swanson, a Wander Franco, a Jorge Polanco? Like,
I would. I'd take him over all those guys.
I've got him behind Chisholm, Franco, and Polanco at the moment. What about Javier Baez?
I actually in the article I put Jorge Polanco, Baez, and Witt together. I said, do you want a track record or do you want upside? It maybe depends on how you built your team or what kind of team you're building. So I have them all there together. I would definitely much rather have them than Franco this year, even though I think Franco's like a Bogarts, because again, this is fantasy baseball. If you're shooting for ceiling, I love Franco. I think his ADP is fine. But I definitely would much rather have him than Jazz, because I think there's similar skills in terms of what you're hoping to get fantasy wise, except I just think Witt's safer. So I would much rather have Witt than Jazz.
I think the difference for me, because I agree, I think I'm going to move him up above those guys. He will be in play for me if I haven't taken a third baseman. So if I haven't taken Machado, if I haven't taken Devers, because then I can just put in a placeholder at third base for 10 days and just fill the worst position in fantasy outside of catcher with a guy who I think has the potential to just be an absolute monster. So maybe I talk myself into it. Maybe I do take him in the third round on Wednesday. We'll see. I don't know. My guess, someone's going to take him in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
If it hasn't already happened.
I'd love to talk to someone who does this. I want to know, because when there was talk of like Justin Verlander going to the fourth round of main events, I didn't poo-poo the thing. I put it out in public. Like, what are your expectations as an optimist? And everyone gave me their answers. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. I don't agree, but I can see it. That's what I want to hear from the Wit guys. Like, in his rookie year, what are you hoping for? Is it 290, 30, 30? That's what that's what you think he's doing, right? That's what you gotta.
I mean, his min already is 41. So he's already gone in the third round of drafts. I'm not going to be shocked if he goes in the second round of a draft here pretty soon. It could be today. There are main events going on today, so we may look at the ADP tomorrow and be like, "Oh, look, somebody took him with the 27th pick."
But if he goes before Trevor Story, that's when I want to have a conversation with somebody.
I'm sure he will at some point. All right, let's move on and talk about the next guy, which is another rookie making his debut. Spencer Torkelson makes the Tigers. I don't think this is super surprising. There have been talk kind of in the last few weeks about Torkelson potentially making the opening day roster. What do you think his potential is for this season?
I mean, it's impossible to tell. He's going to be batting at the bottom of this lineup to begin with. And if you look at how it's built, he could certainly move up, but I would think it's probably no higher up than maybe skipping like Cabrera and Jonathan Scope, and moving up to like that fifth spot is kind of his ceiling there. He didn't have a whole lot to look at in the minor leagues, obviously just the 1 year, but he crushed it. He did hit 312 in A ball, through 263 in AA, and then AAA 238. Strikeout rate never got out of control, 19%, 23-20. So one would think that he's going to be kind of ready to go. But again, what are the expectations here? I've seen their projections for him to hit 30 home runs right out of the gate, and I don't see any reason why he can't. It's still a tough ballpark. So for where he's going, I probably won't have any shares this year. It'll be one of those guys where I'm rooting for him. I think he can do it. He'll be doing it on someone else's team. Because if you're getting what will probably be a middling average in his rookie year, again, 238 in AAA, I would say with adjustments, you're probably looking something in that ballpark in his rookie year, maybe 240. If you're looking for 240 and like 25 to 30 home runs at corner infield, that's not too hard to find. There's no reason that I think there's not enough reason for me to reach as far as I think it'll take to get him.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry for cold water on everyone. I'm trying to be I understand the ceiling. It's just corner infield, Jesus Aguilar types.
If he had retained the third base eligibility in leagues, and I don't know, like I don't play in Yahoo, so I don't know, like, is he third? Like in Yahoo leagues, if he's third base eligible still, that could have some insane value.
Yes.
But in leagues, and I think most leagues, he's just going to be first base only, and he's definitely not going to pick up third base in season. Candelario at third. I tend to agree with you. I definitely think he has the potential at 40 home runs. Will he? I don't know. And it has a hard time. It's hard to predict a rookie to hit 40 home runs, even starting up day one.
When's the last guy to hit 40 in Comerica?
That's a good question.
It's tough. Not that many people hit 40 anyway. And again, I do believe it's just, that's difficult. I mean, once you get to the 30-ish area, what do you really, Luke Voigt in San Diego? Are you telling me that you want to take, I know there's injury risk here, obviously too, but there's so many guys like Voigt, Tellez, Aguilar that you can get for practically nothing in a standard like 12-team league, and at the very back end for 15-team leagues, it's just
the last person to hit 40 home runs was Miguel Cabrera in 2013.
So hey, it's. I mean, I like him. Again, like I said, I like him. First base is a very crowded position. There's so many other options I would probably rather go with. Corner infield is a different story. If I can land him there, that'd be a good spot. But it just seems like he's going a bit too early. Rookies just get pushed up too much in general. I don't. That's why I don't go for the early ones. I loved his teammate. I loved where he was going in drafts, but that's out the window now.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. Torkelson's ADP right now in main events is 247.
That's not 247.
Yeah,
It's not
I
bad.
mean, it'll probably go up, but guys going ahead of him that I would take him over: Bobby Dahlbeck, Jonathan Scope, Yuli Gurriel, Brandon Belt, Nate Lowe.
Poor Gurriel, he gets no respect.
I love Gurriel, and I actually really love Nate Lowe.
You know what? That was low. I assumed he was going earlier. I thought it would look like a foregone conclusion he was on the team.
And now that it is, he probably goes up a good 50 picks. But if good 50 picks puts him with Ty France, Alex Kiriloff,
that's where I assumed he was going.
Rizzo. So like
now I'm talking myself into Torkelson.
I'll take that gamble there.
I'm in there. I thought he was going earlier, to be honest. Although I've only been in so many leagues, and I guess I've just been in a couple where there's just been a happy Spencer fan in there,
and that's all it takes, right? It just takes one person to jump someone up in a draft. So
but Terry, you're talking. I'm back. I'm back in. If that was the going rate, I would have been in.
Yeah. I'm a little bummed that I think I've got him in like one DC. That's it. So maybe he's a guy I target in my last draft. You mentioned the guy I think everybody was getting really hyped on was Riley Green. Hit 2 bombs, I think, and then broke his foot. Fouled the pitch off, broke his foot. It's not a displaced fracture, so it does not need surgery. We're probably looking at 4 to 8 weeks. What are you doing with Riley Green? I mean, you've got to just hold him, right?
I have to make this decision a couple of places. He's a rookie, broke his foot, who relies on speed. There's a good chance I cut him. There's a good chance. It depends on what I need. I'm going to try not to. He looked like a special player. And again, another one that I think would have done well out of the gate. He looked like he was built to do well out of the gate. The Tigers have a little bit of a crowded outfield. So, I mean, there's always, if Akil Baddoo is as good as I'm hoping he'll be this year, he'll be locked in. So will Grossman. The only other guy out there is like Victor Reyes. So, I mean, there'll probably be a spot, open no matter what, but you never know what'll happen between now and then. So it's difficult. If you have an IL spot, this is a no brainer, but like in leagues with shallow benches, early in the season where you're probably going to be dealing with other injuries as well. It's just so hard to not just kind of move on because he's going to be out a while and the chances of him being up to speed immediately, you'd have to think are low in a year where he's already going to have to make a lot of adjustments. So yeah, it's a difficult question to answer in a vaguely just because it really depends on your situation to situation, your team needs your holes and, any injuries you're dealing with, what's available on the waiver wire. But yeah, do everything you can to hold on to him. He is really good. But I say the chances of him coming back and being effective out of the, maybe you get like 2.5 months of what you're hoping from him. Which, again, I think all signs point to he probably should be cut in most formats the second you have a need to do so.
Yeah. I tend to agree. You try to hold on to him as long as you can because I do think he's one of those guys that is going to be a part of Fabapaloozas and people are going to go crazy for him if he's available. But or someone will probably just scoop him in like right as soon as you drop him just to try to hold on.
Oh no, someone will. I'm just trying to make. I mean, everyone heard about how I talk about Bobby Witt. He had like a 24% strikeout rate in like AAA. 27% for Riley Green in AA. 27.6% in AAA. I mean, he's probably going to struggle. I mean, it's going to happen. So as intriguing as he is, he has
already risk.
Yeah. There's a lot going against him now. So, I mean, what are you realistically holding? So you just got to be like, all right, what are you hoping for when he comes back. I mean, you're maybe 230, 240 average, 250 at best, and then you got to worry about that speed. So if the speed is cut in half the rest of the season from, as far as trying to extrapolate what he's going to do, he's already in a park that is not the best for probably his kind of power. It's rough. You try to hold on to him, but it's probably a mistake.
Yeah. Because I mean, these injuries can always be re-aggravated, and you may hold on to them for 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's another month. I'm bummed. I was really excited.
Foot injuries with no surgery equals a foot that's not healed. if you don't wait long enough, and oftentimes teams don't, or they will, which is still bad. I mean, maybe they really take it easy with him. They put him back in the minors, really take it easy, ease him in, make sure he's okay, which is probably the smart bet. There's a lot of routes to him not being valuable at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone who is valuable, but we don't know how valuable he's going to be now. Lynn left to start with right knee discomfort. This is a bummer for me. I've got Lynn in a few spots. Less spots than I thought I had him in. He was an early draft target for me, and then I apparently just never drafted him again for a while. But how worried about Lance Lynn are you right now? And if you've got a draft coming up, we don't. There's no update. At least I have not seen an update on what it is. But would you be willing to take a gamble on him at a reduced price?
I would. He's a vet. He knows how to deal with certain things that he's probably dealt with some things before. It's not like his plant leg, as a right-hander, it's not the one that he's like pushing off on to generate his power, but obviously it's still, he's a bigger dude, and you need everything to be in sync, or otherwise you end up overcompensating for stuff. And then you injure you injure your shoulder or your elbow or something. Lynn's not stupid enough to, I think, come back too early. I think he'll take his time with this. It doesn't look like anything that's too serious. So yeah, he's definitely a prime target, I think, where you wait it out and you could probably get him at a nice discount. So you definitely want a discount, but I wouldn't shy away from taking him, I don't think, because this doesn't seem like it should be something that should affect him. Like when he's back, he should be fine.
Yeah, it's not an arm issue. So I know there's been a lot of people like, oh, he's going to break down. He's going to break down. I don't think this is what they were necessarily thinking. And I don't necessarily agree with a lot of people who thought he'd break down. This is unfortunate. I'd like to have a little bit more information. I'm sure I will by the time Wednesday rolls around for me. But for those of you who are drafting, today, on Sunday or maybe on Monday, I think it's a worthy gamble. I think I take this gamble over the other gambles I see people taking with Sale and Flaherty and McCullers and now DeGrom. So I think there's a much better chance that he's back a lot quicker. And maybe this turns out to be nothing. Hey, he had a sore knee, but he ends up being fine. You get a steal, 4 or 5 rounds after where he was going initially. So.
Yeah, then this is nothing that ties into his mechanics or how he's going to perform. This is something that's I know it's his knee, so it's not like nothing, but
it's nothing.
Try to think of it as an injury that he is preventing him from being on the field, but it's not an injury that's going to prevent him from performing well. It's not a part of the machine,
I don't think this is like an ACL thing, right? This doesn't seem like that kind of injury. So
think of it as a car. Nothing's wrong with the engine. Like the hubcap fell off. You want to get it fixed, but it's not like a huge issue.
Yeah, I agree. Craig Kimbrell was traded to the Dodgers earlier this week, which just sent off kind of a flurry of tweets where people were grading the strategy of drafting Blake Trinan, and all that jazz. I think that's silly, but I think at this late in the season or draft season, I felt like Trinan was now somewhat safe. Obviously the Dodgers had said he's not going to be the only guy, but he was also the most talented guy in that bullpen. So I don't fault anybody for drafting Trinan, even though I didn't. Some people got some amazing steals on Kimbrell late, though. I know Dave McDonald, our buddy, got Kimbrell in the 23rd round of his main event in Vegas. That's a steal. I had drafted Kimbrell for $6 in Tout Wars and then promptly traded him to Brent Hershey for Shane McClanahan. Literally the minute after he was traded, I just threw it out to my leagues like, hey, who wants him? What are your expectations on Kimbrell? Because I've seen some people be like, he's a top 5 closer now, and then I've seen other people be like, he still may not be good. So where do you stand on Kimbrell? Yeah, I guess we don't really need to talk about Trinan, right? Trinan's kind of useless now.
Yeah. I was lucky to get Kimbrell. I got him like $2-3 in labor. Again, just a flyer. And going back to what you're saying about like the kind of the victory laps of judgment, they're stupid. No one knows. Yeah. Me and Justin are fantasy baseball experts. For anyone listening, I'm doing the air quotes. No one knows anything. There's a reason there's a premium on early closers because they are elite in terms of ratios and strikeouts, and they have a job. Everyone else, there's a question mark. There's a question mark with Gianni Gallegos, who's Paul Spohr obviously loves. The beat reporters and the manager have come out and said he may not be the guy, but Spohr knows he's a great pitcher. He thinks he'll get the lion's share, but he knows the risk. Craig Kimbrell, everyone probably thought he'd be traded. Didn't know it. There was a risk. Blake Trinan looked like he'd be the closer if Kenley didn't come back. And that was a risk everyone took on. People took Will Smith. I wasn't on board just because I don't like the pitcher, but he looked like the closer, and no one thought Kenley Jansen was. It's all you knew. Everyone was gambling with the same information.
The Will Smith one just was a dagger to my heart right there.
Yeah. But it's like you pick your spot. You know the information. You take your guesses. No one knows anything. It doesn't make your process right or wrong. It could have gone either way. And you build your team based on the information you know and the risk you're willing to take. It's a risk for a reason. It's not a guarantee to pay off. I do believe Craig Kimbrell should be considered a top 5 closer going forward. I am not someone who subscribes to the fact that he was bad with the White Sox. I think it's different. I see people like Buster Olney throwing out this is how he was with, this is how he was with the Cubs. This is how he was with the White Sox. No, in my opinion, this is how he was in the 9th inning. This is how he was in the 8th inning. He hates pitching in the 8th inning. So does guys like Edwin Diaz. You put him out there without the adrenaline or whatever the heck makes them work in the 9th inning. And it just is a different thing. Some people don't think, what's the difference? It's in late in games. There's a difference. Just look, some people just can't do it. And he hates pitching in the 8th. And that's why the White Sox did not want to keep him because he was worthless in the 8th inning, in my opinion. So I think he'll be fine. He got roughed up badly in his first outing.
By my Giants, yeah.
So bad, but I think he'll be fine. Again, remember, even really bad closers can rack up a lot of saves. So even if you're not getting vintage Craig Kimbrell or first half Craig Kimbrell, man, all he has to do is go out there and be okay. He's going to get like 70 save chances. It's the Dodgers.
And I mean, I think people have forgotten, it wasn't like Kenley Jansen who's been great in LA the last couple of years, right? And Dave Roberts stuck with him. That was the guy they just stuck with. Now, when the games really matter at the end of a season or in the playoffs, it mattered a little bit less, right? But he was still able to rack up.
Regular season, it's part of the machine, right?
Yeah.
Hey, look at all these arms that they have in LA. They had one of the best bullpens in baseball without a closer.
Yeah.
And Dave Roberts would not commit to anyone. He said he was pretty consistent that he was going to be like a committee of sorts. Everyone assumed it would still be led by Trinan, but Kimbrell comes in and he just immediately, Kimbrell's the closer. He just named him immediately. So, I mean, that's kind of all you need to know. And looking at his track record, I mean, he's the closer for arguably the best team in baseball. I don't know how many saves that'll equal, but we know how many save opportunities that could equal. And kind of regardless of who you are, here, throw Kimbrell away. Put Mark Melancon here. No one knows what Kimbrell will be. We know what Mark Melancon's going to be. How highly drafted would Melancon be if he were the closer named on the Dodgers? And he's not even good.
Top 5 or 6. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of all you need to know. Think about is this guy was named the closer of the Dodgers, ? You don't even know who it is. Yeah. Well, actually, how high does he get drafted? You don't know who it is. It's a silhouette with a question mark. Name the closer of the Dodgers by Dave Roberts. You don't even know who it is. How highly does he get drafted in the main event?
I mean, he's probably a 4th round pick.
Yeah. So
I
that's
mean,
what I'm saying. Everyone
for the
needs
fifth
to,
round pick. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, back off Kimbrell a little bit because it's the job.
like I put him at 6th in my ranks. Liam Hendricks, Hader, Raciel Iglesias, Clase, Diaz. And I think people can make their arguments whether they'd rather have Kimbrell or Diaz, but I think those 5 are the safest closers in baseball. The next tier of guys are all guys that have some sort of war or question mark, right? Like Chapman's safe, but he's also seen some real skills drop. Ryan Presley is safe, but he also has Hector Neris waiting in the wings and is dealing with reduced velocity right now. Kenley Jansen, we just said, like, he has not pitched well, and will the Braves stick with him if he struggles, considering they have Will Smith, who's been great. Jordan Romano is dealing with an ankle issue. I think they wanted someone else to come in and take that role, but they couldn't get anybody assigned there, apparently, or trade for anybody. Like, why Kimbrell didn't end up in Toronto is beyond me. There's like all those guys have questions. So like, I'll take the questions on the Dodgers as opposed to the questions on any other team. Dodgers are probably the best team on paper that we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years.
Like and again, I'm not, you pick your strategy, you roll with it. Like I said earlier, there's pros and cons. It can work your way, it can work another way. Injuries can happen to anyone. I understand if you want to wait, but again, those question marks amount. I mean, there's honestly 2 guys late that I feel comfortable drafting. And I'm done drafting, so I can just tell you, everyone. I love Taylor Rogers, which a lot of people did on the Twins. And I like Andrew Kittredge, which I know the Rays, people will fall out of the sky and get save chances, but he was literally going at the very back of the pack. Peter Fairbanks is already injured. So as far as waiting, those were kind of my 2 favorite guys. Not exactly like, anything you can hang your hat on. Taylor Rogers could be traded.
I like Taylor Rogers a lot. Now, I mean, I don't the moves that Minnesota made, like, why would they trade him now? Like, I mean, unless they completely fall out of it. Like, yeah.
No, that was this. I guess it was more like, early. I've been drafting
because there were, I had a lot of questions on whether or not he was going to be on this team coming up opening day. But now, TPH in the chat on Twitch saying Presley was apparently sitting at 92 last year during spring and was fine. I know that, but anytime you see reduced velocity, still just scares me a little bit. And I think for good reason. I think if you draft Presley, you just handcuff Hector Neris in one of the last 3 or 4 rounds, like just to be safe. Because I think we'll know pretty quickly into the season who they're going with.
I fully believe in handcuffing in both FAAB and non-FAAB. In DCs, it's a no-brainer because you have 750 picks. And in waivers, if it works out, you cut the other guy. No big deal.
Absolutely. Moving right along, we have Alex Kiriloff left yesterday's game with an injury. I haven't seen an update. It's not a wrist thing. I believe it's a leg issue. I've been kind of out on Kiriloff this draft season. I thought I was going to be in, honestly, early when I did my ranks initially back in like August, September of last year. I was all like, oh, I think we're going to get a really nice discount. There's been no real discount on Alex Kiriloff. You buying it all?
I am. I always liked him though, so I'm a sucker. This is just one of my guys. I'm just in. I'm in until he devastates me just one too many times. It's a very good lineup to be in right now. I think that roster resource has Luis Arias batting cleanup, so no 5th. I think there's plenty of opportunity to move up in this lineup, and I think Kiriloff will. I think if healthy, he can certainly hit 25 to 30 plus home runs, and he's available in outfield and first base. And late in drafts, when outfield starts to thin and you need like a corner infield guy too, I love having him available as like back of the top of the bench, back of the starters. So he's just kind of like a outfield first is a nice flexibility I like to have. So yeah, I've been taking him. There's certain risks there, but again, it's one of those guys you can, if he gets injured, you can probably flip him out easy enough. So I do like the upside there. I think that rather than wait until that next year we were talking about, like the Rowdy Telezes of the world, I think it's worth maybe securing a guy with that kind of upside. I like him. I like Nate Lowe actually like quite a bit this
I
year.
like him a lot.
And of course I love Dalbec, but it's a grab bag, you don't know. You just keep turning the jack in the box. Eventually he's going to jump out and scare you. I think Kiriloff's as good as option as any in that kind of area.
Yeah, I just prefer other guys. And now we're dealing with, him coming off the wrist injury last year, coming off the knee injury, or I think it's a knee issue right now, knee or hamstring, can't remember.
Yeah, knee is sore knee.
Yeah.
Oh no, this was my story ahead of time. If I'm drafting today, yeah, I'm probably going to let go.
Yeah. I mean, if you've already drafted him, you're holding. I think I've got him in one early DC. Update on the Padres situation. Mike Clevenger will start the year on the IL due to knee soreness. So good news, it's not an arm issue coming off of the Tommy John. Bad news is it's something else, which isn't good either. But I mean, I guess at least it's similar, I guess, to the Lance Lynn thing. I was already out on Clevenger. This just puts me further out.
Yeah, who knows how serious this is? You're just telling me for the first time. Could be
yeah, I literally just saw it.
Could be a general soreness thing where he's working back. He's not quite ready. We're putting him on the DL with something that doesn't sound scary. So that might just be something like that. But they did acquire a pretty good pitcher, so you don't know that.
That scares me.
Because it's not like they went out and signed a Rich Hill type veteran. Not that he was available or anything, but I'm just trying to think of a level. They didn't go out there and acquire a stopper. They acquired an all-star. This kind of news makes me want to draft Mackenzie Gore more.
I think Mackenzie Gore is going to go like really, really late in drafts today. And probably really, really cheap in FAAB today. We'll get to FAAB here in a second. Maybe you could get a pretty nice discount. I know he's available in a number of my FAAB leagues. So Max Scherzer dealing with a hamstring issue seems questionable at best for opening day. Mets might roll out a bullpen game, like I think you mentioned, or maybe we talked about this one off air. How worried about Max Scherzer are you? Obviously you're not dropping him. You can't drop a guy like that. But let's say you're drafting here in the next few days. How high would you be willing to take him? He's gone as early as I think like 12th in the main event.
I wouldn't let him slip too far past that, to be honest. I think that there's a definitive drop off from the tier A of closers. And Max Scherzer has even come out and said that he is, he's been around a long time. He knows how his body feels. It's the beginning of the season. It's not a hamstring injury. He just felt a little something and he knows how these can develop. He wanted to just shut it down. Mm-hmm. It just happens to be bad timing, and optically missing opening day just seems bad, especially on piggybacking off of the Jacob deGrom news on the same team. But I don't think this is a big deal at all. I think he's going to wait the appropriate amount of time, make sure this is a non-issue, and get right back out there. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't be reaching for him. But if he were to somehow make it to the back end of that second round, I would be pretty ecstatic to scoop him up. So that would be kind of as far as I'd let him roll, because I don't think this is a big deal. DeGrom, again, this is as a Mets fan. DeGrom, I'm not drafting, period. Mystery relevant maybe is the last guy. But other than that, no, thank you. With no IL spots, I can't do it. But Scherzer, I really believe this is nothing.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about Scherzer. Like I said, I'm drafting pick 12 in the main. So what is that? Pick 19 in the second round. If he's there at 19, he's gonna be in play for me. Kind of depends on if I take a picture in the first round or not, but I have no problem starting off with him at pick 19 for me in the second round. So
it's kind of nice to have a veteran he knows his body so much. He's dealt with these kind of things before, and he's taken the appropriate amount of time off. You want that. You don't want a guy to go out there and push through it and miss tons of time. At his age, it's kind of good that he kind of knows, all right, I should probably give a little time. It's kind of a positive. Not that it sounds like one, but it's better. It's better than not knowing.
Even if he misses a starter too, I'm just not that worried. Like, you know, just that's fine. All right. Let's talk about some FAAB guys. This is gonna be a big FAAB run for those who have already drafted. There's been a lot of news that's come out the last few days. So Matt Brash makes the opening day, or not the opening. He's not going to start on opening day, but he makes the rotation for the Mariners. How aggressive would you be on Matt Brash? Would you be Brash?
We're talking like a 15 team standard here.
15 team, 12 team. Does he even come into play in a 12 team league for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
This is the perfect kind of guy I want on my team. I probably might have even drafted him towards the end here because you want that high upside. You want to see what he got out of the gate. If he stinks, you move on. But you don't want to have the boring. You don't want to have Zach Plesac on your bench at the back of a 12, hoping he turns in a good whip. You want a couple of lottery tickets. You see how they do. I think you want something like that. And you want that in 15 teams to a degree, but there you want to make sure that you have innings. It's more of a bare waiver wire, but still he made the rotation. So in any format I want him, 15 teams, I definitely want to be really aggressive. I mean, this guy was a strikeout machine at every single level in the minors. Rookie A, high A, double A, just looked great. Never pitched at the triple A level, but again, dominated in spring training, which is a de facto kind of triple A level. It's a good ballpark. It's a good lineup. So yeah, I'm all in here because I think Matt Brash is someone that he was my my dark horse rookie of the year pick I put out like a week ago. So yeah, I'm on board here. Because you could be looking at like a 30% strikeout rate like out of the gate. He just walks a few people, but that's rookie, so he's going to have his issues. But again, it's a good division, good ballpark to kind of have the issues that he does.
Yeah, I think he was Saris's dark horse rookie of the year candidate when we did episode 1000 a few weeks back. So more than a few weeks back, I guess now. I'm very, very interested. I don't think I'm putting $50 on him or anything like that in FAAB leagues, but maybe like mid 20s, something like that in the $1,000 FAAB league.
I think you need 50 to get him. I think.
I don't know that I'm going to do
because
that.
It only needs. No, I'm not saying whether you should. I think this definitely depends because there'll be someone who lost to Grom. There'll be someone who's looking for upside that just needs it, who failed in the draft, and this is
lost Chris Sale.
I mean, if you're looking at, again, 30% is strikeout rate, maybe with a high ground ball rate. I mean, as far as rookies go, he's got the skills to kind of limit the horribleness. That he's not going to have a huge home run problem. I think it's a solid. If you're looking for a home run swing in FAAB, it's not a bad one for Fabapalooza.
Yeah, I think I might be more aggressive in a league like in Barf. I lost Lance Lynn and Chris Sale since we drafted.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm more aggressive in a place like that. I also lost Will Smith as my closer. That team is pretty effed.
It depends. But yeah, I don't think I agree that most teams probably shouldn't do that. But if you want to acquire them, I think that's the neighborhood you're going to have to be in.
Yeah, I can see that. Next guy on the list is Steven Kwan makes the Guardians. All off season or draft season, I've been saying, who could be the next Cedric Mullins is Bradley Zimmer. He's one of my most. I think he's my most rostered hitter in leagues. Bradley Zimmer looks atrocious in spring, like really, really bad. I think there's a real chance he's out of options. I think there's a real chance he gets DFA'd. And Steven Kwan making the team makes me think maybe I had the right team, but the wrong guy. Steven Kwan looks really, really good. Has not struck out a single time in spring training, at least last I checked, which was yesterday. So unless he struck out at some point today already. How aggressive would you be on Steven Kwan?
Not really. I understand what people see. He's got a good hit tool in terms of like batting average. He looks like he'll probably be decent out of the gate. Power and speed, but like not an incredible amount.
I think there's more power in that bat than you think.
No, there could be. There could be.
Mhm.
It's hard to gauge because again, there could be someone that's just more excited to me because when I look at him, he looks like maybe a Brandon Nimmo with less on base, or he could be like a Brett Gardner with a better batting average. That would be good. Uh, Brett Gardner with a nicer batting average would be pretty solid. So yeah, it could be okay. I kind of my expectations are that he falls short of like Robbie Grossman type production as far as overall, which is still good. I mean, people reach for him and like Andrew Benintendi. So if you could, if you could acquire either of them in FAAB, you would. So
Mhm.
yeah, I would. It's just he's kind of a death by a thousand paper cuts guy, which I like, where he doesn't he's not going to maybe stand out in any particular area, but maybe just do well across the board. But he's going to bat at probably at the bottom of the lineup, and there's no guarantee he keeps the job. So I just don't want to go overboard. So as far as a bid goes, again, it depends. It depends on the first FAAB of the year. It depends on what everyone has lost. If someone happens to have Riley Green and Michael Conforto, and they really need someone, then they're probably going to put a few extra bucks here. But Quan, he's okay because here's the thing: we're not going to talk about a couple of these guys. Guys, seen the notes. Depending on how early you draft, Tommy Pham in 12 teams might not have been drafted. Randall Kriecha might not have been drafted. In 15 teams, they obviously were. So in 12 teams, it's completely different. But yeah, just I don't. What are your thoughts? Because you came out right and said you think there's more power in that bat. You think there's more power in that bat his rookie year? Like what are your expectations here? Because
He's been
projections.
stinging the ball, and I saw some of the StatCast numbers on him in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
And they're actually pretty enticing. Like I think there's legit 20 plus homers in this bat. And maybe it's 25 plus with 10 plus stolen bases. And I think he makes good enough contact to hit like 260, 270. Like
I think he
I
could hit higher than that. I actually
yeah.
did the batting average. I think he's 280 plus this year. I
Yeah,
see that question
I
there.
try to be conservative with the batting average because you just never know. I mean, I don't care how good you have been in AAA. Like you've never seen major league pitching until you've seen major league pitching.
Yeah, I mean, for everyone not familiar with Quan, though, I mean, we're talking about his hit tool so much. Last year, Double A 10% K rate, Triple A 6.7, in a double digit K rate. I mean, the contact is there, and like you said, if
And I
you
like
hear
to
that,
bet on those guys because especially
yes, yeah,
I mean, with the way that MLB likes to liven up balls, there's humidors in every park now. Like you want to bet on the hit tool and the contact skills over the guys who like have none of that but a ton of power in the bat, right? Because if the ball's flying like it sometimes does, and we never know year to year until it happens, right? The contact guys are the ones that get the biggest boost, right? Like this is why Brian Reynolds like turned into being like a really good player after like people being like, oh, he's not a very good prospect. So like I think Quan's one of those guys. I think I'm gonna get aggressive in the spots where he's available. And by aggressive, I'm saying like 40, 50 bucks in $1,000 foul. Because someone Simon in the chat's asking, would Quan need Zimmer to be DFA to get full time at bats? I don't think he even needs that.
no,
Like
no, this is good. I mean, for who got injured? The guy with the leg.
Josh Naylor starting the
Yeah,
year on
Josh
the IL.
Naylor, yeah, being out, this is great for Quan because it was never going to be about the time. It would just be the opportunity. Now he has the opportunity. If he hits, he's in. No one's
Yeah,
taking his job.
I mean
And
he's battling with Oscar Mercado and Bradley Zimmer right now.
I think you're right. I mean, if you're looking for an outfielder, I think the spot you're looking for, like bidding the 50, is a good area because I mean, I believe in the hit tool, and if his power and speed are just kind of there to a modest degree, you can be looking at like a better version of Trent Grisham,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. I mean, I said Brett Gardner earlier; it's kind of the same thing. But Harris. I mean, people pay up for like Harrison Bader. I mentioned Benintendi earlier. I think that's kind of like the I mean, Grisham goes earlier, but I think like Bader, Benintendi, Grossman. I mean, if you're in on those players, imagine if they were available in FAAB, and how much would you spend for them? I think that's kind of maybe you want to maybe not go that crazy, but that's the kind of the expectation if he keeps the job. So
Yeah.
I can see spending that, but there's a lot of risks. I mean, I'd probably cap it at like 30. So we're kind of reversed on
Okay.
the first two players we talked about. So because I believe what you're saying, it's just it's just you're paying. It's a lot. It's
It
a
is a
lot.
lot, but I mean, you're also playing for a full season's worth of plate appearances potentially, right?
You sure? That's why I hate
So
the first week of
because
I
like
hate being in the position where you have to overpay for these guys, and there's always someone who's going to need him more than you, more than likely. Uh,
and that happens, but like I mean, we see this when guys like if Stephen Kwan was coming up, May 1st, you're gonna see some people drop 200-300 bucks on him.
true. That's
So
also
like, why
very true.
not pay $60 right now and get a whole month's extra worth of plate appearances potentially, and not have to pay 200 bucks later on for somebody else? Because there are going to be guys that come up for these Fabapaloozas after the 3-4 weeks that teams have to wait until they get the extra year of service time. I'd rather pay $60 now and hope that Stephen Kwan is just as good, if not better, than the guys that people are going to pay 200 bucks for later.
Yeah, you know what? It's like you're almost talking to me into it because now I'm thinking the name that popped in my head now is Ramon Laureano and how much people pay for him, knowing he's not going to play for a month.
Yeah,
And I kind of can expect maybe not as much power, but similar enough with a much better batting average with Quan. So you're kind of converting me here. And now I may be putting in a couple extra bucks on my bids.
yeah. I'm actually gonna add some bucks on my bets.
We're talking. I'm like, it's almost like
Uh-huh.
the gif of that woman who drank the tea, like that. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
me on Quan. I'm in now. I'm more in.
I smartly handcuffed Quan to Zimmer in a couple leagues. Like I said, I'm gonna hold on to Zimmer until we see news, because he may not get DFA'd until Naylor's ready to go, but I think there's a real shot that Zimmer could get DFA'd here, which is a bummer. I've been a huge Zimmer guy for a long time. People know I watched him play in college. I mean, that's how long I've been a fan of Zimmer. So he just he just cannot make contact, and that's
I'm all in on Quan now. Now my wheels are turning, and
Mhm.
I maybe didn't give him a serious enough look as I could now that he has a legitimate option. And I mean, right now, I'm looking at their lineup. They're moving Rosario to
Yeah.
the outfield, and I believe in him, and I think he could be good. But we know how
Are they
much he
moving Rosario
struggled.
to the outfield?
I'm sorry, they've been giving him some reps.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
there's some reps there, and you know how much they might move some people around, and we know Rosario can suffer sometimes in the first half. And I believe Kwan's hit tool is good enough to hit out of the gate. I mean, I could see him working his way to this two hole. You
Yeah.
know, he would be a good guy to hit there behind Straw in front of J Ram. Um, I like it. I
Right
like it.
now, Ross Ristos hasn't been in 6. I'd be fine with 6. I'd love second. Next on the list is Reed Detmers makes the rotation. There are some real Reed Detmer stands in the industry. He's available in a number of leagues, especially if you drafted earlier in draft season. Where are you at on Reed Detmers?
I'm everywhere. Like he's one of my highest, most rostered players, and across all draft champions, he's definitely a guy I try to add to my bench in all fab. So I luckily don't have to be bidding for him this time. I mean, last year, uh, across the board, it doesn't look too good in the major leagues. 7.4 ERA, 6.36 FIP. He started at Double A again last year. It was his first professional ball. He went right into Double A, Triple A in the majors in his very first year. So I mean, how impressive do you want him to be? In Double A, he had a 16.17 K per nine. Moved to Triple A, 12.38. In the majors, 8.27. So he struggled a little bit more when he moved up, and that's naturally what should occur. If you look into his game log, he had a couple of really rough starts to start. At Oakland, his first start, 4 1/3, 6 earned. 5 innings, 5 earned. His second start at Los Angeles. His third start versus Houston, 6 innings, 1 earned, 6 strikeouts. And he looked pretty strong the rest of the way, and he just had some like ups and downs. He looked really strong this spring. Tons of like kind of like prospect pedigree behind him. So 6-man rotation should keep him kind of like fresh as well, even though that's a detriment to some people. I think in his particular case, It'll kind of keep him fresh. It's nothing where they have to manage his innings and pull him from games early, which is from fantasy. You actually hate that. You'd rather them leave him in the game more and just shut him down. So I think the 6-man helps him there. So yeah, Reed Detmers, I'm in. If I didn't have him, he would definitely be probably at the top of my list to acquire, because there's obviously been a lot of people added to rotations. But as far as people that weren't drafted, Detmers is probably at the very top. So yeah, I mean, I'm biased because he's one of my guys too. So I am part of that clan that you said is like really high on him. But there's a reason. There's a reason. So yeah, I'm excited about Reed Detmers. Only 22 years old, lefty. Sometimes they take a little longer. So I mean, if you develop early, it could be special.
This is like a huge bummer for me because I felt like I was the high man on Reed Detmers coming into draft season. So we're talking about like in October, right?
Yep.
And then everybody in the industry passed me. And I'm sitting back here with no Reed Detmers shares and going like, what happened? I liked Reed Detmers. Like I thought, and nobody seemed to be on him in October and November. And all of a sudden, like everybody's like, Reed Detmers. And now I didn't get him anywhere. Which is just a huge bummer for me. I mean, he's definitely a guy I'll be looking to target late in my main event, but like I don't know how late he's gonna go. Like I'm really
I think people looked at the rotation. They saw it was gonna be 6-man, and and at the very top you see Otani and Sandoval. And then they bring in Syndergaard, who you have no idea what to expect. And then you see other names like Jose Suarez, Michael Lorenzen. And everyone's like, all right, Detmers looked good the end of last year. And and then as spring progresses, obviously it just continues to go up. But I think it just looked like it was just a sure thing he was going to get an opportunity, and everyone was just kind of jumping on board there. And it just kind of snowballed. But it's funny. It's being built off of virtually no track record whatsoever. He could be a massive bust. But
would you rather have Detmers or Matt Brash?
Brash.
I think I agree.
Yeah, he dominated a couple of different levels. Detmers, we are kind of projecting success onto him. Brash, we've seen it. Of course, we haven't seen him struggle at the major league level, which is a reason why most people get discounted. Brash, and he's dominating in spring training too. So yeah, I'll go with Brash there. But yeah, Detmers, I'm pretty high on Detmers as well.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that I think it was Mike Kurland tweeted out like, who are the guys you have FOMO on, right? Reed Detmers is guy that I'm going to be watching from the sideline, just kicking myself for not getting as aggressive as other people did, even though I thought I was being aggressive on him early. So, Bryson Stott could be the shortstop in Philadelphia. This is another Rob DiPietro guy, our buddy Rob. I didn't think there was any chance he was going to make the opening day roster initially. I really thought Philadelphia would be a team in on Story or Correa. They're not, and maybe it's because they felt that comfortable with Bryson Stott, who's also been taking some reps at third base. Would you get aggressive on Bryson Stott?
No. I would be interested. I think it's a deep enough middle infield is certainly deep enough to is deep enough where you don't have to reach on anyone. And there's still late options like Carlos Pena is still there, even though he's being bumped up. So I don't see a particular reason.
Jeremy Pena?
Jeremy Pena. What did I say? Carlos Pena?
Carlos, yeah.
You're
mixing Correa and
as soon as he heard the shift was banned, Carlos Pena
came back, baby. Pena won me a fantasy league back in the day.
So yeah, I like Stott. But it's a very good lineup, which is not a bad thing. But he'll be at the bottom of it, kind of no matter what. Like no matter what he does. So that's a little bit of a bummer. I would much rather like go with a few other options at the bottom. Like again, they're not as exciting, but like, Josh Harrison available like second, third, outfield, wherever he's available everywhere. He's probably playing every day second base for the White Sox. Carlos Hernandez leading off for the Nationals. Again, these guys are nowhere near the ceiling of Bryson Stott at all, but I know what I'm getting from them probably. And I kind of know where they're going to bat. I know what they're going to give me. So I kind of rather go in that direction If I struck out entirely in middle infield, you got to do what you got to do. There's only so many guys available who are going to bat. But again, I don't know if I want to blow all of my fab on someone like this compared to some of the people we're going to talk to before, because Stott's going to have a cheering section and people are going to pay beyond what I want to. I'd rather have Tony Kemp for like $1 or $2 than pay for, Stott for whatever he goes for. This is not me saying I don't believe in him. This is me just saying that, he's a rookie on a team that does have other options to go if he struggles, which, he probably will.
Yeah, I like Stott a lot, but I don't know that I'd get super aggressive. I just don't know what the role is going to be early on.
Yeah.
It feels like they're going to give Didi a chance. They still have Baum, who's actually looked pretty good in spring. Hit a home run yesterday, I think, yesterday or the day before. I'll be really interested though. I've got a league in which I've got Willie Adames, who is dealing with some sort of cramping issue, and so I'm gonna target Stott there just in case something is further wrong with Adames. But I think I would much rather become aggressive on a different shortstop. We're going to talk about here. There are a couple different shortstops we're going to talk about here in a minute. Before we do that, let's talk about Randall Kriecha. Now, if you've drafted since the trade, Randall Kriecha's gone. But if you're in a 10 or 12 team league that drafted before the trade to Colorado, there is a reasonable chance that Kriecha is still there. And he's actually available in my tout league, which is a 15-team mixed auction. He didn't get drafted. I came very close to taking him in the reserve rounds, and I'm kicking myself not, because I think you're going to have to pay $150+ in a $1,000 FAAB league. How aggressive would you get on Randall Kriecha?
Probably wouldn't spend $150.
Why not? I'm going to be bidding more than $150. I can promise you that.
What are you expecting here? Because power doesn't necessarily get added in cores as much as people think it does. It does add some, but it's more of a BABIP situation where it adds to your batting average, which for Kriecha will be pretty awesome. Is this a thing where you are hoping that you get almost Kyle Schwarber, like a 250, 35 home run performance? Or are you looking for, Eloy Jimenez is projected for 275 with 30 home runs. It's just that, what are you hoping here from Kriecha is the thing, because
most projection systems have him at between 25 and 27 home runs.
Yeah.
With a 260, right? Some chip and stolen bases. He's not going to steal very much, right?
It's just like
I'm all here the projection systems have him for 130 games.
I don't see him playing more than that.
I think in Colorado with that team.
Hold on. Exactly. I think you're saying in the wrong tone. In Colorado, with all the clowns. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do.
I don't think they trade for him in that contract and not play him full time.
It's Colorado. Well, here it's the thing is he could be anywhere between Mike Yastrzemski and Kyle Schwarber. So it's $150 seems a much. You just got to be on board, and
I'm on board. I think he's a top 45 outfielder.
Can't do it. I think
I'm going to pull up my ranks right now and see where I put him.
Okay.
But I have Randall Kriecha. I guess I put him 54. He needs to be higher than that. But he's not top 45 because I can't put him above Robbie Grossman. It's Robbie Grossman steals. Top 50, though. He's top 50 for me. And when you're talking about a 15-team league, obviously in 10 and 12s, there's better replacement. Maybe you don't need to get as aggressive. But I think he's got to go for 150 in a 15-team league.
Someone will pay that. I don't disagree with that. I think
it will be me. Yeah, absolutely.
Someone will pay that. I'm not. I guess I'm not sold enough just because I think I can find. He just doesn't seem like a play. He's not like an irreplaceable player. Um,
But they're paying it. I mean, they're paying that contract. Like, it's not like a nothing contract. They
Yeah.
traded for the guy. Like, I think he's going to play 145 games as long as he's healthy. And I think 30 plus homers is on the table easily for him. The BABIP in Colorado always gets boosted up. I think you could be looking at a guy that at the end of the day hits 30 plus homers with a 270 batting average.
So you think he's Eloy Jimenez?
I think he has that opportunity.
No,
I don't think he's Eloy. I'm not going to take. I think Eloy has 40 home run potential. So I'm not going to say.
By the way, I'm not making these numbers up.
290.
These are the bad X that I'm throwing out for everyone wondering. Wow. Hey, why is Matt saying these things? I'm throwing these out because I trust the bad X, and it just seemed like a good thing to throw in there. So that's where my benchmark is. If you put him there, I mean, that projects him to like Eloy, JD Martinez, who I agree, obviously have a much higher ceiling. But as far as
now I'm like, oh my God, I need to bump him up a whole lot. Like I'm going to be aggressive. Matt's not going to be aggressive.
Well, here's the thing. It depends. Again, I mentioned this earlier with Quan. If you had Conforto and you had like Riley Green and you're like, you just lost outfielders, you need an outfielder. He's obviously the guy to get, unless again, Tommy Pham could be out there as well in Cincinnati.
That's true.
But more than likely Pham was gone. People specking on him early anyway, but yeah, Randall Kriecha would be the guy. The batting average is the most intriguing thing to me. I don't think the 30 to 40 kind of thing is necessarily there. I mean, he only plays half his games at Coors, and then you got the whole thing with being affected away and the whole thing with like being multiple games away before you. I don't know the boost I necessarily want to give him, but I'm on board with what he could do. But I mean, I think if I needed an outfielder, my cap would probably be like $75.
I mean, he's only a few seasons removed from a 31 home run season.
And then I won't be getting him. Yeah. So basically the bottom line is, I'm agreeing with pretty much everything you say, but I would probably not spend the money to acquire him regardless.
That's fair. Okay.
Because you know what this is too? It's kind of hard. I have so many teams and I just don't need them anywhere. So I'm like thinking maybe if I
just said that Bradley Zimmer was like my most drafted offensive player.
So we're talking for two different experiences of someone who needs to get an outfielder versus someone who just doesn't need.
And I drafted Vidal Brujan in a number of spots too. So like, and I'm not holding on to Vidal Brujan. So I'm just moving in any redraft league. I'm moving on. So,
well, here's the thing. Before we go on here, you seem very, very interested in Quan, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were in, and we talked ourselves kind of into it more. We expect his batting average to be pretty decent with power, like maybe a 2020.
Why am I not putting $150?
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want him more? I mean, obviously, Kriecha has the job. Quan,
he has a job. He has a track record, and I don't think I need to do that on Quan.
Yeah. I don't mean 150. I mean maybe go above what you were original. It just seems like
Quan will be my backup bid.
Yeah.
And I'm in a league like Tout where I need that outfielder.
Yep.
Maybe I'm more aggressive on Quan than I would be in another league.
I think I'm not giving enough respect to Kriecha.
You're not.
Yeah,
disrespect. You're giving disrespect.
You know what? You have to be honest. The kind of player you are. I've been actually better at this year. I underdraft power quite a bit. I love to draft even teams. Little, like I said, death by 1,000 paper cuts. I like power. I like a little speed. So if a player gets injured, they are easier to replace. Where I don't want to lose a Whit Merrifield and then be kind of screwed. I like drafting, and I always end up chasing power. And that is probably why I naturally undervalue power. And then we're sitting here talking about Randall Kriecha, and he's kind of like the kind of my, kind of like my kryptonite as far as what I usually undervalue. So I'll admit that and say that anyone listening, I would defer probably more to what Justin has said so far, because he is certainly more in line of what you'll need to do to acquire Randall Kriecha in FAAB.
Absolutely. We've got in the chat, we have J Hook saying, "Am I late to the Nick Martinez shares club support group?" I don't think you need to be worried about that. Clevenger's starting on the IL. I think Martinez, that contract they gave him, he's in the rotation.
So, yeah, and he's not someone that's really, if they were going to move anyone to the bullpen, he's not exactly the best option to go.
No, I think he, and I also do think that there is probably another move coming too. So, but I think Martinez is still in that rotation. Paddock may go to the bullpen or be traded. So, and like I said, Clevenger starting the year on the IL. Let's see, was there any other chat things I need to throw out there? Nope. Hey, CJ Abrams looking like he could potentially make the opening day roster in San Diego. How aggressive you get on CJ Abrams?
If that news came right today, I can't. You can't now. Like if you're drafting, if I'm on the clock, like, and I need it,
but like in FAAB today.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing?
It sucks because I mean, this is if he got the job, I would be amazingly aggressive. And now you got to guess, because I highly doubt we're going to know today. Between him and Stott, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Abrams is like a special talent. It makes no sense for him to make the team. Again, the Padres and Preller, they do what they want, and it doesn't necessarily have to make sense. If I needed a shortstop, if I had an injury in my middle infield and you need a spark, yeah, I would go high. It's real risky though.
I think I'd go $50-$60 on.
I was about to say 65. Is kind of like the number where I kind of want to be in, like, above, like, a few bucks above that $50 mark to make sure I kind of was like,
especially if you're an NFBC,
yeah,
and after this FAAB run, anybody who's a rookie cannot be picked up unless they were drafted or they make the opening day roster, right? So you can't pick up anybody until they're in the majors. This is why Fabapaloozas happen, right? Because people have to just wait. You can either pay $50 or $60 on the gamble right now, or pay $200 to $300 when he comes up. So it's either waste $50 now, or have to really spend a lot later.
Yeah, which makes it very difficult. I would be in. I think if I was in the opportunity, if I needed to get him, I'd be bidding anyway. He was one of those automatic keep him honest bid guys. If I don't need a shortstop, I could care less. I'm bidding on him anyway, because I was listening to I heard this the other day on an MLB moving averages Cork Stats. He had Mike Medica on, and I think Medica said he's the kind of player where you want him on your team just to see what happens. Absolutely, because he's someone that could just explode and be like a monster out of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, as much as like everyone's really excited about Bobby Witt, it's because we've seen him kind of explode over a short term and he's been on the field. Abrams has been injured. You haven't seen it, but Witt's story could very easily be Abrams' story right now if things swing a certain way. That as far as talent level goes, it's close. So Abrams is someone that if it just you just need to gamble. If you have a need, you need to go hard, but you should be bidding regardless.
The cautionary tale though is Bobby Witt, because people felt the same way about this last year on Bobby Witt, and then we never saw him.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. I throw keep them honest bids no matter what. If you have a need where you have a missing superstar and you have something, Fernando Tatis, and you lost him and you need this.
If you lost Tatis, you have to get aggressive.
You need to go after some star potential. I mean, filling in with like the mediocres of the world isn't going to get you there, especially in overall. I mean, you need to go for gold here. So Abrams is someone where if you need a boost, you need to be in here. I said 65. I mean, I say you do.
I do, because why
they need it?
Yeah, and why go get Minaya if you're not really making a push to? I think Preller and the Padres have to make the postseason, otherwise Preller's fired.
Yeah, especially after last year's meltdown, right?
I think they have to, and so I think he's gonna get aggressive with these guys.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, you're back. You're the bench in San Diego, as I'm staring at, is Matt Beatty and Nomar Mazara. It'd look a lot better if the bench had like Ha-Seong Kim on it.
Or
You
yeah,
know,
or Profar. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, Profar. I mean,
they,
you
they
have
they need to go get Brian Reynolds or an outfielder, and uh, there you go. Preller isn't insane enough. Is insane enough for him to make it. I think he is. I think they should go for it.
yeah, no, I would. And I said 65. It's it's funny. People will be laughing if there'll be probably someone in your league that needs to go for it. They'll probably like blast past that. Where if you were a Tatis person, oh, you mentioned, I think you said 50 or 60. I said 65. Is that kind of where you're just comfortable going? Today, not knowing if he's on the roster.
Yeah, today not knowing. Like if we got news before Fab ran later today, I think you put him up in that $150, $200 conversation.
I was gonna say if he made the roster, I think $200 would be the area you'd have to be living near.
Yeah, I agree. But I think you might be able to get away with it 50, 60. I mean, if you're really in dire need, if you drafted Tatis and this is your first Fab run, I don't have a problem saying I'm just gonna take the gamble and put $100 on him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, no, I agree because
I'm
there's
not
not
in that
many.
situation anywhere. Thankfully, I think the only place I have Tatis was my first DC of the season. Um, so, but if I was in that situation, yeah, I would, I probably would put triple digits on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's funny. I spent the first half of the show talking about how I don't like to invest in rookies, but there's certain rookies where if you can just get them and add them to your team, even though Fab is, it's currency.
It's still a cause.
Yeah,
I think, and this is weird because you could have gotten him in the 29th or 30th round
yeah,
in your draft. And I think that should have been the move. Like Scott Jenstead did that in our main event. He took Abrams in the 29th round. And it makes a lot of sense because he is going to know by opening day whether or not he's on the team, and he can drop him if he's not. But like now you're having to spend, a 20th or a 10th of your fab to go get him. I just, there are very few guys that are going to come up and make huge differences, and potentially from day one. I have been less aggressive on these guys in the past. The guys who were up day one, or seem to be like potential difference makers, and it's been a mistake. The times in which I have been more aggressive, Carlos Rodon last year, who's coming off of a great spring. Me and Shelly got aggressive on him in the first Fab run and got him. Like he carried our pitching staff. I think you have to be aggressive in these early Fab runs because you get to have these guys on your team for so long.
and you look at a team like San Diego too. Look at their lineup with the loss of Tatis. It's not as impressive. Grisham, who they've moved up and down the lineup, they have Machado batting second. Not ideal for him to actually be there. Cronenworth third, Voit fourth, who's an injury risk. Then Eric Hosmer, who they just love to get rid of. Abrams not only could make the team and make some noise, but move his way to the very top of this lineup.
Yeah.
Very quickly, maybe immediately. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know what their plans could be here, but he's certainly talented enough to be in the top third of that lineup very quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Jorge Mateo is having a huge spring, and I've been a Jorge Mateo guy for a very, very long time, and I feel myself being sucked in. The old, fantasy focus 0610, the fantasy kryptonite. I haven't drafted him in many places. I think I've got a few shares. But are you being drawn in on Jorge Mateo?
Oh yeah, another guy I'm proud to say I have everywhere. Well, proud to say
I'm
currently proud.
I'm proud.
I saw this and I'm watching the guys they're bringing in. I'm seeing Roughnet Odor. Like I'm looking at these guys like Ramon Urias. I mean, who's stealing this guy's job? No one, and that's been the case. Took roster resource a long time to fix it, which thank you for delaying the inevitable for me. For anyone, this is another reason you should follow Mike Curland. He tracks all the spring training lineups. Mateo's been in every lineup with the regulars. I mean, he is in the lineup. He's their shortstop. That's just the way it is right now. And you saw how he performed last year, which I'd say for all the ups and downs he had his career, I'm pretty happy with how he did. 247 with a 293 on base isn't ideal, but this is fantasy baseball where most of the time on base percentage doesn't matter. He stole 10 bases and 209 plate appearances, and they moved that left field back, which sucks for everyone, but not for him. That's probably going to help him get a few extra bases, doubles, triples, help his batting average. I like it. I think Mateo is especially for someone if you happen to strike out on steals or you just want a guy at the end to speculate on. Mateo is great because I think I think he has an everyday job. It looks like for sure in a major league lineup, regardless of how bad it is, and he's about as fast as they come. He may be as fast as they come.
I think he is about as fast as they come. I mean, Billy Hamilton's still technically in the league. I don't know if you saw that Billy Hamilton catch the other night. That was insane. But I don't think Billy Hamilton makes the majors, at least not out the gate for Seattle. So, yeah, I think Mateo is probably the fastest guy in Major League Baseball right now. He could legit steal 50 bases. Yes. And you are potentially picking a guy like that up off a FAAB. I think if you need stolen bases, you get aggressive on Mateo.
Hey, death, I talked about death by 1,000 paper cuts. He's not hitting 0 home runs over a full season. He could hit 10. I mean, he could.
He hit 2 in spring training.
Yeah, I mean, he's not powerless, so he's not one of those guys. He's not Billy Hamilton. He will give you some home runs, and those 10 will help you. So, yeah, I like Mateo quite a bit.
He kind of takes over the Vidal Brujan role in terms of, like, my fantasy ranks, like, now that Brujan's been sent down. Because I think he could be what we thought Brujan might be, which is a guy who could steal 30-plus bases and chip in enough power to not be a zero. So, why draft Miles Straw when you can get Jorge Mateo 200 picks later?
Hilariously enough, those are always bad, and people make fun of them
awful.
for a reason.
They're awful, yeah.
But I don't think that statement is necessarily that far off. Counting stats wise, there's a big difference, and that's why Miles Straw is going to lead off. Or not a bad lineup. As much as people make fun of the Guardians for some things, I mean, they got some good players, some good hitters in that lineup. But if you just are hurting for stolen bases, he's got to be one of the best late round options I've seen in some seasons, because usually you're drafting some real zeros at the back,
the Bradley Zimmers of the world.
Yeah, I mean, you don't got to go after Keon Broxton here. You got no offense on the drive by Keon Broxton, but Jorge Mateo I think can offer you a bit more.
I saw a tweet yesterday from one of the Giants beat writers who was tweeting out like one of the, I think it was Dominican League game lineup because Pablo Sandoval was in it.
I did. That was a monster lineup.
Do you see Addison Russell?
You know what? I think I actually saved it in my phone to show my dad. So I think I might have it here.
Yeah.
I have it in here.
Keon Broxton. Oh, here we go.
It's Addison Russell leading off, Josh Reddick, Francisco Peguero, Chris Carter.
Yeah, my Chris Carter. I loved him.
Pablo Sandoval, Keon Broxton, and then Juan Perez, Rodolfo, Amador, Logan Moore, and Eduardo Vera. But yeah, that's a lot of people in a lot of familiar names.
Yeah, so I can't remember. What is it? A Dominican League? I can't remember. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
That's crazy. Like that just I just saw those names and I was like, oh man, I think I drafted all of those guys at one point. They're probably all in the same like 12th place team at one point. So for me, that's I love Keon Broxton and I love Chris Carter. Remember the whole, if you pair Chris Carter with Ben Revere, you get a 30-30 guy.
Everyone, we're not talking about Chris Carter with a K. This is good old Chris Carter with a C.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. This was Chris Carter. The A's. Well, I guess the other Chris Carter was on the A's too. But yeah, Chris with a C that hit like 40 home runs and then disappeared out of baseball.
Hey, speaking of which, did you see Singleton hit a home run? John Singleton in spring training.
Hey man. That's John Singleton is the cautionary story of like why these guys take these team friendly deals, right?
Yeah,
when
man.
they're in arbitration, because
Set.
people were so upset, like, oh, I can't believe John Singleton's not betting on himself taking the deal. Well, he made out all right not betting on himself and just taking the 20 million or 30 million or whatever he was offered. So Jeremy Pena, the aforementioned, he is the starter in Houston, it appears. And I think he's a little bit better than people kind of give him credit for. So what are your thoughts? Like, how aggressive would you get on Jeremy Pena?
I might have been more aggressive had it not been for the last couple of days. It looked like there was all those rumors that he was going to be batting near leadoff. Now it looks like he's probably buried towards the 8-9, which on the Astros isn't a horrible thing. It just takes away a few plate appearances, but there's no weak spots kind of to be had there. Yeah, I think he's better than people give him credit for. The only problem is I don't know how to project him. He'll be in the lineup every day. They don't have anyone else really. I mean, they have like Nico Goodrum, but Pena's their guy. They want to see what they have. They're going to give him any opportunity. And his defense will keep him in the lineup regardless. He's like fantastic. I mean, he's a defense first, but he's not without. I mean, if anyone ever talks about him, you hear that. He's a glove first shortstop, and then people close their ears off because they think you're about to tell them about Andrelton Simmons. But I mean, this guy's last few levels of it, 293, 317, 348, and then 287 in AAA. With a 26% strikeout rate, which isn't bad. The walk rate has gone down significantly. So yeah, there'll be certain struggles. I would say his batting average is probably in his rookie year going to be in the sub 250 area, but he's got power, he's got speed, and he's going super late. I would like him more. I think I'm more interested in Pena than I am Stott.
Just because the playing time is certain.
It looks like they are committed. I think at this point they have to be committed to keeping him in there. And the glove will certainly go a long way in doing that too. So there's more of a reason to believe he'll ride out any rough patches. He doesn't have anyone breathing down his neck for playing time. So yeah, I think if I needed someone, that he would be my guy. I think over a full season you could get 20 and 10 out of him. Like 240 with, again, if you really need a middle infielder, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I was thinking like 17, 10 with 240. Which seems fair. And I think in a 15-team league, I lean more towards Pena. And in a 10 or 12-team league, I lean more towards Stott because I think the upside may be a little bit higher. But there's downside that Stott isn't even in the majors. So
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. So yeah, the 15-team leagues, you can't
need someone who's going to accumulate.
Yeah, it's much tougher if you strike out and he gets sent down or something. And the chances of that for Pena look a lot lower.
Absolutely. Zach Eflin looks really good in spring. Time to start pumping up that hype train. He's available in some leagues.
I don't know about pumping it up too much. It's still a crappy ballpark. Not a great division to be in. It's 5 2/3. 4 strikeouts, did 2 walks, but overall, I mean, he's looked sharp. He has. So where he's going in drafts, certainly, you want to look and see that he's looking sharp. But and I don't know if I can draw any conclusions. I'll defer to his track record. So I don't think I'll move him any further up than I do.
So he's below Brash and below Detmers easily.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree there.
I think he's closer to Michael Pineda.
Yeah, I hate Michael Pineda, so that's a bad.
Hey, I don't love Michael Pineda. No one does. Well, Saris May. He's always at the top of that his command plus, but
which I never understand. Dude gives up so many home runs. Like it just.
But now he's in Comerica. Maybe some of those home runs will die. So it's
wasn't he in good parks before? I feel like he's been a good park before Pineda.
He's not. He is not going to win any awards for most impressive fantasy player. But I think he's sneaky there in Detroit. I think he is.
I have an old history with Pineda because one of my first ever times doing starting pitcher ranks on Fangraphs, I messed up my Google sheet and the numbers were got out of whack when I posted it. And so when everybody had Michael Pineda as a top 60 starting pitcher, I accidentally posted something where I had him ranked 150th.
And Michael Pineda liked it?
No, the first comment, and for those who don't know, the comment section on Fangraphs articles are historically brutal. especially when you make a mistake like that.
Hey, hold on real quick. Just this is a side note on that. Isn't there someone that was like silenced or banned from the chat, but they still comment anyway, even though their comments aren't posted? Someone was telling me about someone in the fan.
It's potential. I mean, there are definitely people who have been banned from Fangraphs, the comment sections, over the years. I don't know about any particular person.
We're talking about Micah Pineda, everyone. I'm sorry I took us off track, so you know what the hell we're talking about.
So yeah, so I ranked Pineda. I think it was like 154 or something like that. When everybody had him as a top 60 pitcher, I think. And the first comment on the Fangraphs post was, "Did Michael Pineda punch Justin's dog?" Like, I don't think, and it ended up being my it ended up, and of course, like the first comment or first reply to it was like, well, someone would have hit it out of the park if they did, like, so it was the banner or background photo on my Twitter, that comment.
Fantastic.
It had like 80 thumbs up things on it. It was great. So I've always had a thing against Michael Pineda because he punched my dog.
I mean, who the heck were we talking about?
We were talking about Zach Eflin. Let's move on. Spencer Howard makes the rotation in Texas. This is a guy I've targeted in a number of DCs cheaply. Is he a guy you're willing to kind of take a shot on? Would you take a shot on him over Eflin? I'm assuming you won't take him over Detmers or Brash.
Yeah, behind Detmers and Brash. But I would take him over Eflin and Pineda and those types because, again, you don't want to read anything to a small sample size, but for guys like Spencer Howard, it sure is important. He has pitched 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 0 walks. He has looked good, again, making the rotation. Former top prospect, so you don't know what's here. If there was something that clicked, you could have a really special player here. So he's someone, if you're in a FAAB league, you definitely want to put someone like him on your team instead of those like kind of boring back end guys. Because if I had to bet, I'd say this kind of blows up in your face. But you got to see what you have here, because he is someone where if he went unclaimed for some reason, let's just say he was unclaimed, he would be someone that after like one solid start, he like 5 innings, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts. The bidding would be over the moon for him. So I think you have an opportunity here, even with a strong spring, to acquire him for really cheap, for the standards of what it could cost. So yeah, I think he's someone that if you have an available spot, someone you don't fall in love with, I think everyone should maybe try to throw a little bit on Howard, because you don't get people with this kind of perceived upside available for this cheap with a reason to take them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually honestly might even put him above Brash and Detmers. I like Spencer Howard a lot.
Well, the lucky for you, that you're talking rankings wise, but spending wise, luckily you won't have to spend that much.
Yeah, I won't have to spend that much, but I still have a draft. I have to double check my ranks. But I haven't updated him. I didn't think he was going to be in the rotation, honestly. I thought he was going to get set down to AAA or be the long man in Texas. But I'm loving the fact that Texas is committing to him in the rotation. This was a guy that Doug Thorburn, for those who don't know Doug Thorburn was, been in our industry for a while. He is a pitching mechanics guru, works for the National Pitching Institute. A couple of years ago when Howard was still on the Phillies, before his call up, his bold prediction during Potapalooza that year was that Spencer Howard was going to be the most valuable pitcher in fantasy on the Phillies. This is when they had Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola.
Well, that's fantastic. You're talking about someone who knows pitching, and I'll say, yes. I mean, as bad as Spencer Howard has been, for everyone listening, in AAA, his last 3 stints through there, his strikeout rate has been at over 30%. Each stop. It's just his little swings to the major leagues, he gets crushed. There is something that he's overthrowing, or it's just something there that he is changing what he is doing. It's also
been really small samples, and the Rangers didn't let him go deep into games either. My biggest concern with Howard is the Rangers don't let him go deep into games.
Yeah.
that they treat him a lot like Dame Dunning last year.
I mean, you look at what he has done in the major leagues. I mean, he doesn't get teed up. His barrel rate's like below 8% both times, 5.1, 7.5. You see the strike. I mean, you see the potential of the strikeout rate. Even in the majors when he's getting killed, he's not getting clobbered as far as the barrel rate goes. It just looks like there is plenty here where, he could turn around in a hurry. So yeah, I'm very interested in Howard, especially at a discount. So he's someone I'll probably land quite a bit in leagues I don't have him in, and I've been trying to. I'm in an MAQ main event qualifier with John Legazer right now. We're just doing a few. Maybe we'll win like a main event spot next year. And we just went YOLO completely on our last draft here. We're drafting everyone we would never touch, just full upside. We took Julio Rodriguez in the 9th round. It's MEQ, and me and him are messing around. And this is like the day that they suggested that his call up was happening, like on the radio. Like
I think he's making the team.
But hey, 9th round is a steal. The second that everyone else is getting him in like whatever the 16th, 17th round earlier in draft season. But anyway, I'm trying to convince him to take Spencer Howard with the last pick. I'm like,
yeah, why not?
Got to do it. And I think he texted me like, "Are you okay? Did you get hit on the head?" And I'm trying to convince him.
I like Spencer Howard a lot. The mechanics are good. Like you said, the strikeout rate was been there in the minor leagues. The only question for me is how deep do the Rangers let him go into games? That offense got better in Texas, not good. That park is still a good place to pitch. I'm very interested. I think he's one of those guys you're going to know pretty quickly. If he only goes 3 innings his first start, like then you go, okay, this is not going to be worth it. I drop him, but I think he's got really special talent in that arm, and I think he's one of those like traditional post-hype sleepers that we always are like talking about that end up, people are like, oh, Joe Adell's a post-hype sleeper. Kalenic is post. These guys are still going as like top 150 picks. Like Spencer Howard is a legit post-hype sleeper that I'm going to take gambles on.
And yeah, I mean, I'm definitely on board. So yeah, Spencer Howard he definitely looks like he could be a steal. Yeah, I don't really have much more to add there. It's just, yeah, we'll see what happens. Know what I was thinking when you were talking is, I think this is unfair to compare him to him in terms of talent, but I feel this is the way the season may go, and I fear it probably will go, even if I believe in him. Austin Gomber, he turned into a verb kind of last year, getting gombered. He had some really good starts last year, and then he had some that were just horrible and like ruined your week. I think we may get a little of that from Howard, but I think you got to be patient. Maybe don't start him out of the gate. I don't know. I mean, handling him may be difficult, but I think giving the track record, seeing what we've seen so far, if he gets roughed up out of the gate, even if you have him, don't be quick to pull the ripcord early in the year. I think, maybe put him to the bench. If you have a short bench and you have no choice, you have no choice. But try to ride it out. Put him on your bench if you have to. See what happens, because I would try to give him a little bit of time. Look for reasons to think there's growth there. Look for positive, because this is someone where you want to acquire him on the cheap and hope he turns into a good year. Don't let like a rough first start do it, and just you give it a little bit of time, which I know it's hard to do in some leagues, but this is a thing where I think you may get, a good start, a rough start in the beginning here, because, the chances of him just turning in a clean slate all the way through are unlikely, even if you believe in him. So it's just something where people get a little too aggressive early. And I know you have to be as far as people you're picking up, but sometimes people are way too aggressive with people they are dropping. So it's just a cautionary tale that kind of spreads to a lot of players, but we're talking about Spencer Howard in particular.
Yeah. All right, let's finish out with David Robertson. He's been kind of a no one, I don't think in Chicago, beat writers or otherwise, have said he's going to close. But there's been a lot of talk on Twitter that like, hey, maybe he's the guy. He could be the guy. He could be the guy. Do you think he could be the guy? And would you take some dart throws in FAAB today?
Well, there's 3 guys in Chicago that could close. Rowan Wick, who's not a closer, who is the favorite, heavy favorite, not a closer. Michael Givens, not great, has closed. And then David Robertson, who has actually been a very good closer, but he's coming off an injury, and who knows what to
Coming off
expect.
a few injuries.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, his last time, I mean, the Phillies gave him a lot of money to be their closer, though his last time through kind of the free agency process, seriously, and they did give him $3.5 million, making it seem like they wanted to make sure they secured him here. They did lost Cody Hauer or Hauer, I don't know, Hewer. So I think all of them are worth speculating on. I do have shares, where I've drafted David Robertson in draft champions leagues. I think Michael Givens is a good enough person to take too. So yeah, if you're speculating on saves, he is just another guy, in my opinion. I think maybe depending on who's available, maybe Alex Colomé wasn't drafted in a 12-team league. Probably should have, because I mean he was going to be a closer probably no matter what. But I can't imagine too many people are available that are an obvious pickup in FAAB for closers, right? I mean, I don't know how many people.
I don't think so. I mean, Colomé he signed like the day we did Barf, but even then he was being drafted in some leagues because people thought he was going to land somewhere as a closer. I think right now, like, people are just taking the dart throws on the San Diego guys and the Seattle guys and the Cincinnati guys.
Like for an example, I guess maybe this is the best example of a guy who's available that I think should be like Chris Stratton.
Not available in my leagues because he's on a lot of my teams.
Yeah, sharp people kind of knew that it wasn't necessarily Bednar's job, but Stratton is the guy with an opportunity for real saves that is probably the most likely to be available in most waivers. I would rather have him than any of these guys, on the Cubs. But yeah, other than that, every other option. I mean, I'd rather have Art Warren on the Reds, and he's not named the closer. I'd rather have him than any of the Cubs options. So yeah, I think these guys are worth taking a stab at. But anything, it's a buffet. Just pick up whatever looks good to you. I can't really order these in any kind of confident way. As far as the Cubs, I have these guys, I don't know, 33% each chance of being the closer by June. I'd say Rowan Wick has got to be the top option if you have your pick of the three, but I can't imagine there's much daylight between them.
I feel like David Ross is, being kind of a MLB player and a catcher, he's probably going to want to have his guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who his guy is going to be, but I feel like whoever emerges is probably going to get the majority of the save opportunities. Like, I
agree. Yeah, old school. Like, yeah, you want your 9, 8, and 7 guy.
Yeah, like I feel like he's one of those guys that's gonna, let the guy run with it. Robertson seems like the kind of guy he would go with. I don't. This is all speculation.
Well, the thing with Robertson is like he's got to be healthy, and if he's healthy and he looks good, I think it's him. Except I think that's the big thing is like I don't necessarily think that's necessary. I wouldn't bet on that happening.
And the same thing could be said for Wick, right? Like, is he healthy? Is he good? I mean, we know that Givens is probably healthy. The question is, he's good. It's going to end up being
I have the most shares of Robertson, but that more had to do with him being by far the least expensive. Yeah. So yeah, if I think
I probably have Givens the most. But who knows? Like I don't mind throwing a couple bucks, maybe 10 or 11 bucks on Robertson, and then just hoping.
Hey, if he sat down and David Ross sat down, he said, "I just want a healthy guy with closer experience." It's Michael Givens. That's if you add up all the variables, he's the guy who probably makes the most sense. If he wants to go with the guy who's already on the team, give the guy, the guy with tenure on the Cubs a shot. That's Rowan Wick. The guy with the most upsides, David Robertson. I can make a case for any of them.
And the hard part is they've all been effective in middle relief.
Yes.
Like, so it's not like there's one guy you can go, well, he's not an 8th inning guy. Like, they've all been 8th inning guys, and they all have some experience as a 9th inning guy, Wick less than others, but he's the incumbent. So I don't know.
This is funny. Is like I said, I have Robertson. I don't like chasing mediocre closers and drafts. I have
I
like
don't either.
I put this out there. I mean, I actually put out a tweet today. I love chase. I roster so many middle relievers. Loizaga, Lugo, Brett Suter, Colin McHugh. Like my teams are just full of these guys because the way like bullpens have being handled with more and more people getting involved for saves, the way innings are being handled for starters with less and then involving middle relievers more. You saw guys like in the Yankees bullpen that racked up almost like 10 saves, 10 wins. And you know, that's
Suter had what 12 wins last year. Yusmeiro Petit had like 12 wins.
Yeah, I like mopping these guys up. They get plenty of innings. They give you some strikeouts. They lower your ratios.
For those of you,
I like throwing them in.
Yeah, for those of you who are looking to maybe try to steal some cheap wins in this like short 3-game sample, 2 to 3 game sample, or not, yeah, 3 to 4 game sample, depending on what team. Those middle relievers, those long relievers, guys are going to go 2-3 innings, are going to be sneaky. It's hard to predict who's going to be the one to go after necessarily. But look at the teams who've got really good matchups in this first series, and then look at their long reliever guy, whoever that is. I think Philadelphia is playing Oakland. I don't even know who the Philadelphia long reliever is, but look for that guy, and maybe just put a dollar on him. Like those are the kind of guys that I don't mind throwing a dollar on, especially if you've got, I'm trying to think of Zach Wheeler's your ace, right? Zach Wheeler is not going to make a start the first time through. I think his first start's going to be the 12th. So maybe instead of putting Zach Wheeler in your lineup for this first week because he's not going to have a start, you throw in a Brett Suter or the Josh Tomlin of the day, whatever. I don't even know where Tomlin's pitching now.
I won a lot of draft and holds last year, including Tout doing this. Mm-hmm. I would pick my favorite starters that I wanted, and I would just shy away from the ones that I like. I hated their matchups. I wouldn't even try, even if I was chasing wins. I would throw in a couple of those middle relievers who I stocked up going with this strategy. And usually when you start a bunch of guys and at the end you're starting a couple of fringe, you usually will miss out on a win you were hoping to get, and you usually end up starting someone you wish you didn't start. So if you add up 2 solid middle relievers that are going to be good, you end up with maybe like in a week, you could end up with upwards of 8 innings with some nice strikeouts, maybe a win, maybe a save. For me, it kind of worked out in the long run rather than try to work this way through, because you don't really have to worry about matchups as much. It's just like you kind of put them in there, they get in there. And it's an interesting thing. It worked for me. And I think the way Major League Baseball is going with the way they deploy pitching, I think it'll be more and more popular to do.
Yeah. In draft and holds, I especially like to I think a lot of times in the, after round 40 in a 50-round draft and old people are like, oh, I'm going to take the Ronzi Contrerases of the world, right? The Max Myers of the world, guys who aren't going to be up. We don't know when they're going to be up, but have huge upside. I actually prefer to go after these kind of bulk middle relievers.
Yes.
Because I know they're going to be pitching, and they often offer really underrated value. They may only profit $5, but you paid $1 for them. So that's $4 with profit. You get a few of those guys added on to your guys who make you $10, and you've got a winning league.
Yeah, absolutely. I love going that route.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, last year there was a pitcher on the Yankees that went 9-4 with a 2.17 ERA. And how many saves did he get? He ended up with 5 saves. 9-4 with 5 saves. Jonathan Loizaga. He's so much better than so many pitchers people wheeled out there. If you just had him in your lineup the entire season.
Yep, I agree. Matt, thanks so much for joining. People seem to like us. Paulie said you guys are the dynamic duo. I like the positive, energetic vibe. Very entertaining back and forth banter. Well, it's easy to work with your buddy, and Matt is one of my buddies in the industry who's willing to come in and fill in for Jason on short notice, literally less than an hour before. I just threw out a DM to a few guys who I saw tweeting, and Matt was the guy's first one to step up and say, "Hey, I'm in." Thank you so much for joining me. Remind everybody where you can reach on social media, and then plug your work.
Thank you for the kind words, everyone. It's Talking Baseball with Justin. It's like I do this like I just do this for like free, like just sitting here without, we just, hey, you want to talk about baseball? Sure. Let's talk about baseball. We sat here talking for a half hour before the show started. Everyone, follow me on Twitter if you want. MATTWI77IAMS. Again, I said my DMs are always open. If you have any questions of the work I do with The Athletic, I like throwing a lot of advanced metrics out there. I love talking about them. If you have any questions about anything like that, reach out to me. I love talking baseball and I love explaining things to you, and we can talk through your team and everything like that. Make sure to read my work over at The Athletic and subscribe to the Turn 2 podcast wherever you listen to podcasts.
There you go. You can reach me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB, writing daily at Fangraphs. Obviously, I'm here on the Sleeper on the Bus. I'm also on the TGFBI podcast and the Friends of Fantasy Benefits podcast, and I think that's it. I'm sure I'm doing other stuff, but I never remember. You can subscribe to the Sleeper and Bus Patreon. Really helps us out. Where we've got our live ranks for those of you still drafting. And we will probably do at least monthly updates of in-season drafts or for in-season ranks. And we're also doing watch parties. I think weekly we're going to do watch party. We're going to start doing, I think, monthly either Zoom chat or hangout with some of the Patreons. So definitely go subscribe over there. Link is in the show notes. You can find on Fangraphs or whatever podcast player you're listening to. That's going to wrap us up for Matt and me. Thank you for listening. Have a fantastic baseball season.